How's it going? We're right here today putting a final review together for the Fallkniven A1 large survival knife. This review is being filmed entirely on my iPhone. I got all the way out here, set up my video camera and realised that my SD card was still back home on my computer. I've been a little bit too liberal with my YouTubing lately, so it's been living in there a lot. So hopefully this turns out okay. So I know I talk it up a lot, but the Fallkniven A1 really is a well-designed knife, and it's made very solidly and made very well. It's got a 6-inch blade made of clad VG10 steel. This is the black-coated version of it, and it's got like a nice thermo run type rubberized plastic handle with the full tang going all the way through to the end. It's really one of my favourite knives, and I think it is truly almost a I can't think of a better survival knife myself, especially if you're a fan of stainless steel. People often compare it to the SE6 being the other carbon steel sort of flawless victory survival knife kind of thing, but I like this one a little bit better. Let's get some testing done. I reckon I'll do my final thoughts at tabletop back at home, just in case the wind is going to kill this video. Let's see, let's get into it. Alrighty, so this is my much loved Fallkniven A1. The specs of this knife: total length 280mm long, it's 11 inches, just under a foot. Blade length 160mm, so it's just over 6 inches, 6.3 inches. Blade thickness 6mm, just a hair shy of being a 1/4 inch thick. That's that there, nice thick blade. It's a full tang, but it does somewhat stick compared to how thick the blade is, so it isn't like your K-bar Beckers or your Essies where the tang is as wide as the blade. So it doesn't do that, but it is plenty strong, as you can see by the tang protruding from the end of the handle there. Very seldom use those as crackers, you can probably tell by how pristine that still is. The whole knife weighs 305 grams, it's a 12-ounce knife, compared to say the Trailmaster's 17 ounces. So it is hefty, but it is not too hefty. The steel is a laminated VG10, so the core of this knife being VG10, you can actually see the line there now. I've started to strip off this paint. And then the rest of it is a 420J composite type steel, so nice and stainless and tough. Best thing about these low-end stainless steels, they are tough as nails. Even VG10 really, not too much of a brittle steel, especially when they've just brought the Rockwell up to 59 Rockwell, so not too bad at all. And as I always say, those lower Rockwell, I think VG10's about as flashy as you'd really want a big heavy fixed blade knife steel. I reckon anything else would start, in terms of stainless, start probably chipping out on you. It's made in Japan, it's got a Kraton handle. Kraton's that rubberized type plastic thing. This knife cost me $340 in Australia. In America it's retailing for about $190 US. So that's what you pay for, and I think you get a fair bit of money for that. This is a survival knife through and through. It isn't particularly a carving knife, it isn't particularly a hunting knife, it isn't particularly a woodworking knife, but in a pinch it'll do all those tasks, and I think it'll do all those tasks just fine. Which brings us into the good parts of the knife. Let's talk. So for a survival knife, I think they have pretty much done the best blade you can get. They've narrowed it at the front here, so it isn't super front heavy. They've gone with a saber convex, so you've got a convex grind from this line here going all the way down to the edge, and I believe the edge is a full convex edge as well. It's what it seems to be when I look at under my Victorinox Explorer little magnifying glass there. It goes down to a pretty narrow convex edge, but it is really good for splitting wood. This is a tough edge knife. As long as you use it on wood, I mean, when you start hitting gravel and bits of dirt and stuff, it does microchip. You can sort of see, really hard to see. There are some tiny microchips on this, but it's nothing to worry about. It's nothing that's stropping or just running through the light belt of the work sharp will fix. Absolutely fine. But in terms of toughness, this is like an axe knife. It's bloody brilliant. It'll chop really well. It chops nice and sort of heavily and roughly, so when you need to just get the jobs done, it does them well. And being a convex and a thick convex knife like this, it'll do cross grain, it'll do batoning really well. Observe as I sort of hammer it through some pine against the grain, sort of doing a V-notch. I always really enjoy doing that. It's a good little test of a knife. So that was really fun. And then I flip the wood over and I just hack away at it until it comes off. And then you've got just a cut through bit of pine, probably in a couple of minutes really. So really good edge. I think that's about the best edge you can get, because you know what? Even when this is dull here, that will still be a really usable, hard use tool. It'll have a working edge for a long time. That's the thing I've noticed about convex. They get a bleeding sharp edge. That bleeding sharpness, that scary sharpness, it goes probably a bit quicker than your thinner flat ground knives, but the working edge remains for ages. This isn't particularly sharp right now. I've stropped it back from completely dull, and it's a little bit grippy on my fingernail, but it's not crazy sharp, but it's as sharp as I need this knife, and it stays and hangs around that point for a long time. All you need to do is if you do jam this knife into some bark chips or some dirt or something grittier, you do just need to have a bit of a look for microchips, but it sounds stressful. It's not, it really isn't. So the blade for this knife is a very good thing. I think that is just perfect for what the intent behind the knife is. And the handle is very comfortable. It's got just enough of a parrot's beak to keep your hand interested in staying on. Got a nice bit of room. I think even if you're an extra large hand, you'd fit this knife really well in your hand. When you start to chop, it is important just to remember that perhaps you need either to put a lanyard on or just to hold on a little bit tighter or just perhaps keep it loose and just lock your fingers together rather than thinking of wrapping your hand around the knife. Remember, my advice is to just wrap your fingers together like that, and then the knife isn't going to go anywhere. It isn't. So yeah, so it's stuck there for good. So really nice grippy handle, very comfortable to use. They've gone a bit above the Fallkniven F1. They've put a nice bit more belly, and it is a bit thicker. So I really like that about the knife as well. The sheath is something that I'm pretty ambivalent about. I'm quite happy with these sheaths. Some people say these sheaths are horrible. I'm happy enough with it. It's certainly utilitarian enough. This is the only knife I've ever really thought of getting custom kydex for. I still might, but it's not really bothering me enough to really go ahead and do that. I wouldn't mind a quicker... I guess the thing most people say is, well, it's a $350 knife, or even in America it's a $200 knife. You might want something a bit better than what is really just plastic and a bit of nylon. I can sort of see that, but yeah, that's just more of sort of a middle point. So neither good nor bad. We'll just sort of scale our way into from the goods to the negatives. So they have also put the lanyard hole in a better position. In the F1, the lanyard hole is obscured by the strap, which some people get bothered about who use lanyards. I wouldn't use a lanyard on a knife that small, so it never bothered me, but they have also fixed that. And I mean, there's retention enough with, there's a bit of sort of upside down retention, like as long as you don't shake it. Yeah, there's not. So there's a little bit of, is there? Nah, there's not really any there's sort of some upside down retention, but just momentarily. So it's not brilliant, but it's, you strap that shut and that's not going to go anywhere, that strap. Nice little bit of nylon as well to pull out on. All good. In terms of being a negative, it's probably not the best carving knife. A really good thing to do when you have a new knife or have a knife you want to test or play with is to carve a walking stick. Walking sticks are always fun, and all you need is a sapling, and you chop it out and you make a walking stick out of it. And I guess some people could say, oh no, what a waste of an innocent sapling. But you know what? We use wood products all the time, and if you are actually going to use this walking stick, then I got no problems at all with that, so that's what I did. And yeah, I used the knife to do the rough finishing of the walking stick. I'll probably use something like my Mora Garberg to do the proper finishing, but it did well enough at that. But that convex grind is a little bit obtuse, so you sort of need to angle it really. So say this is the wood you want to grind, you need to sort of angle it. It's a while until you start picking stuff up, so you do need to sort of angle it in at about that angle there, rather than what usually you can do with a Mora coming at about there. So you just need to remember to just adjust your wrist a little bit more. I think if you use nothing but convex ground knives, it'd be second nature to you. But not the best carver. It's a little bit thick too, but it's comfortable enough. The squared off spine will strike a fire steel, but I don't recommend it because the steel's a little bit soft. The cladding steel's a little bit soft, and you do get some little runs in it. So just for the presentation of your knife, I probably wouldn't do that. I don't like the black finish on mine particularly. I wouldn't recommend getting the black finish. That is one of the definite bads that I don't like about this knife. I'm not sure why I got it. Black, I think as I said in the previous, just probably rushing to get one, and it was the only one that was going, so yeah, I probably just bit a bit too quickly and got the black one. I mean, it does, you know, it shows up the actually using the knife, that's for sure, but yeah, probably if I could do it again, I wouldn't get the black one. It does seem to rub off fairly well, so I don't think it'll be black for too much longer, and then I might even hit it with a wire brush and get it off entirely. There you go. But overall, apart from the optional black finish and maybe not being the best fine carving knife, which I mean, if you're expecting that, you're looking at the wrong knife anyway, this is about the perfect single knife, I think. I don't think you can get a much better knife that would just please anyone who held it in hand. I defy you to hold this in hand and think, oh, that doesn't feel good. This isn't a quality knife. Because it is. It's the minute you open it and have a look at it, it's there's just a certain X factor to it. A little bit like the Mora Bushcraft Black. Just one of those knives that I don't think many people can dispute. Are just excellent at what they do. A little bit like perhaps the SE6 or the Bark River Bravo one. Just those sorts of knives that are just made by people who know how to make knives and made very, very well, and just with a very efficient design that doesn't bother trying to be anything it's not, just does what it does, what it needs to do, and I think it'll do what you need it to do if the chips were ever down far enough that you needed a survival knife, or if you just like me, like, what is it? Dicking around in the bush. Really good for that as well. Alright, so that's the Fallkniven A1. Very, very positive reviews. Probably my favourite knife. There we go. Thanks for watching, dudes. I'll see you later.